There we go. What's up, Spooky? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to just keep it short, sweet, to the point. Tonight, we're going to go over Netflix earnings reaction, how I played it, what I plan on doing, and then the overall market, the dollar, the US dollar, Japanese yen, Bitcoin, the S&P SPY, the NASDAQ QQQ, and the Russell IWM. So sit tight if you want to hear it all. Okay. Anyway, jumping right into it. Netflix. I actually bought some shares the other day, and I just wasn't sure how I wanted to play this. It was kind of an earnings play. Typically, on earnings play, it's a coin toss, right? So no matter what anyone says, it for sure is just gambling, right? There's going to be an announcement, and then it's going to go up or down. Those are the only two outcomes, right? And you can say it's the guidance. You can say it's because the numbers. I'm just going to say it's because more buyers showed up. But I don't really care what the excuse or the story is. Most of the time, it is guidance. I would like to believe that. But anyway, the amount of DMs I've ever received over they beat earnings. Why did it go down? Or vice versa. They guided down. Why did it go up? And well, more buyers showed up. So anyway, because I like Netflix overall, I kind of thought I would kind of straddle both lines because again, typically on earnings plays, they're probably just, you hear me say risk and capital, and I'll buy calls or puts, which means they go to zero or they make me money. There's no stopping out or anything like that. But overall, looking at Netflix, the trend absolutely amazing. Like, this is the stock you just kind of want to own. Like, everything about this lower left to the upper right looks good. Wasn't a bad ticker, so I went ahead and bought shares. Now I bought shares at 704. Not Was it yesterday or the day before? They didn't really go anywhere. And then before the close today, I got some more at 689. And that was my earnings play. So watching it go around, my risk is down here. So I'm stopping out at 629.85 is where my stop was at. We've seen blowout earnings where it's absolutely sent it both up and down, and we go down a couple of zones. So I was fully prepared to buy more at anywhere up here, 635-ish. We didn't get there. Dropped down for a little bit. Right now we are up. So rocking and rolling. For now, I just think I'm gonna keep a hold of the shares. I wasn't too worried. Sometimes, just in the midst of things going up and down, I'll lock things in. But decided this time I'm going to go ahead and keep it. I do overall think the market grinds up, but I do think there's some trouble ahead. And like I had this talk with my mentorship group the other night. The last time you guys heard me talk like this was 2019, because I told you guys there's going to be a reset switch and a crash coming, and there's going to be an excuse. And what that excuse ended up being in 2020 was the Rona. I get how that sounds, calling that an excuse. They really ran with it, and markets plummeted. And I think we're just on borrowed time waiting for that again. I think we already started the melt up. And I guess overall, what I'm saying is I'm going to keep a hold of this because I think we continue to grind up. I think tech names continue to go. We're seeing some weakness right now, but I actually think it's not here yet. So we'll get to that when we get into it anyway. Right now, as far as Netflix goes, they surprised. There was an estimated $5.11 per share. They reported $5.40 per share. Revenue was estimated $9.77 billion. Came in at $9.82. So just a few more. Turns out they called your bluff. No, you didn't cancel because of the password sharing. And they're killing it. So anyway, surprises there. Green numbers across the board. Hasn't really quite broken all-time highs or anything like that yet. And I'm sure some will call this a head and shoulders. It's going to be a very weird one. Not anything I'm worried about just yet. Bias on NVIDIA. Bullish. Which tells me you don't watch any of my YouTube videos. I'm actually pretty bullish NVIDIA. However, everything I just mentioned about a crash, nothing hides from that. All right, jumping into this, the dollar. I haven't tagged out yet, but it's about to. The only reason I haven't tagged out because I told you guys getting above this yellow zone was going to kind of be it for me. Going to the US dollar, Japanese yen. I kind of thought as the dollar broke above, this would be a little bit higher. So we're flirting with me tagging out. And again, I'm short from up here, and this is kind of all the wiggle room I'm going to give it. What I'm going to do is pile on back in. If this thing does turn and makes if I do tag out, if it breaks this low right here, I'm piling on like I never left. But it's going to have to do that first. I'm not going to ride this thing all the way back up. Shoot, give me 1 second. Netflix moving forward, good earnings, still below the high of the 14th, continued growth moving forward, and possible long calls. It was a question night, but we're going to cut back to Netflix real quick before I completely move on. Gosh, you love doing. Every time you ask me about long calls, it's usually after a giant green candle. I think the long calls would have been a better play right here at the zone. I'll fill this in for you guys so you guys can see it if you're on a phone. So there's your zone. We could probably even fine tune that a little bit. Hang on, that's gonna be right there. As far as long calls, I would wait for it to base out. Let the dust settle after earnings. If it spikes all the way back down, I don't think I would. If we just some reason tomorrow made the bull flag, right? Like the bears showed up and they made it that far, then I would consider it. And I would consider the timing on this. Again, I kind of think we're really kind of running up right now. The markets to me kind of look overall like Tesla running up into the taxi event, running up into elections. I'm kind of thinking Q1 of next year, but I don't know. Do we make it past December? Is what I'm thinking. So for now, for the next couple of weeks, still on that bullish grind. So I would consider my timing with that, and I would be thinking I'm going to be in these calls, but I'm also thinking about my exit plan. I'm going to start trailing it up. So maybe I go into November with the expiration because I don't want just theta just beating away at it. But I would be thinking I'm not going for thousands of percent on this one. Bitcoin. If you guys are following as far as the Patreon or in my mentorship group, then you guys know I bought a couple things Bitcoin related today because it does look like crypto is about to make another move. We hit this zone right here, and we didn't really do anything. Now we hit this. Let's pull back a little bit. Let's go to the daily. We have this zone and this trend line. It's bright yellow for a reason. There should be a mess of sellers right here, and there's just not, which tells me we might make that move up to that 73, 74 range. And then as it hits all-time highs, does it pick up momentum? A lot of people like to wait until it hits all-time highs and then they start buying, which is why most people lose. But all we care about is more buy-side activity. So I did buy calls on MicroStrategy just for the fact that thing, for every 1% Bitcoin moves, it seems like MicroStrategy moves 4%. It probably needs to chill, but if there's any kind of Bitcoin hype, I think it flows into to MicroStrategies as well. Also, I bought more BITO. BITO is a Bitcoin futures ETF. It does have a monthly dividend. So outside of my exposure to this, for the account that everyone follows, or that I post all my plays in, I bought more BITO. So we'll collect the dividend, but I don't think I'm not selling any calls on it. In fact, I even closed. I had some sold calls. The 20 strike, I sold them for $11 for this Friday's expiration. Bought them back today for $3. Closed that because I think we're about to make another move up. And people were asking me in the chat, why did I buy MicroStrategies? Just because it wasn't really at the time we were kind of pushing up. Like the zone play was. I should have bought it earlier, but I didn't. I kind of bought it up here after it already bounced out of that zone. But while that is still very much a zone play for MicroStrategies, this is where I want the dip buy. I was a little bit more lenient with it as far as like not directly buying in the yellow box and buying a little bit above it because of what Bitcoin's doing, and I think it's going to push up. So I'm kind of playing a weekend play for Bitcoin there, hoping to see a pop. These actually cost a few $1,000s. I bought a few of them. Typically, I'm only risking a couple thousand per trade, so it's not necessarily a risk in capital. I don't know if I have the best answer for this because I'm not going to rock these to zero, but I don't really have a dead stop of, I'm going to stop here. What I want to see is Bitcoin break above and push. And what's going to be really annoying is if it hangs out here and theta just starts to eat away at this, I'll probably cut them at about the 50% mark, unless I might give it the grain of salt, push it a little bit higher. So it's very much going to be dependent on what Bitcoin does for this one. strike and expiration. Were you not in the chat today? I bought the 200 strike. All right. Anyway, going to the S&P. All-time highs. Ta-da! We did it. We made it. Good job. Again, I kind of think the grind continues. We do need to notate this zone right here. The puts I bought the other day, I locked them in when we got down here. I almost bought them back when we pumped up. Glad I didn't make that. Like I told you guys on Sunday, when I buy these puts, I'm waiting for a leg down, and then I'm just gonna lock them in. So hopefully we don't melt off into the dirt. So played that out pretty nicely. However, I'm very much back and forth on this. This might be something that I just only talked with my mentorship group about. I go live with them every day. I'm in the chat all day. Like I'm connected to my phone, so it's why they just know everything. But I don't know if I'm going to front run the risk and buy puts before the sell off, or do I wait? Because I say this all the time, right? One day that red candle is going to be followed by another red candle, and that's usually the better time if you're going to play the short play. If you're going to speculate something like that, go short when everyone else is going short. And I'm really back and forth on: do I front run it, buy the puts before when they're cheap? Do I spend a couple more dollars and wait for like a reversal, a real red day? So I wish I had an answer right now, because what sucks is I'm going to end up talking about it one day, like, hey, here's the puts I'm in, and they're up a bunch, and it's, since you guys see this, I just don't know when that's going to happen, because it's going to be a price action thing, not really a price level thing. When I see, so what happened last time in 2020, so I called it out the literal day before because of what I saw in the markets. So it wasn't just a coincidence, and I didn't get lucky. I've talked about three crashes right now, total, on my whole YouTube career. Every one of them happened. So not toot my own horn, but I'm not a fear monger. Okay. But what I specifically saw that day was it looked like somebody big got out of the markets. The way things worked, and I even said, hey, if tomorrow we sell off, it's bad news bears, and it's time to go short. And we nailed it. We rode the Rona crash down. It was amazing. Some of the most money I've ever made. So if I see something like that again, we're going in. And unfortunately, I'll just be talking about it later that night. But that's just where my head's at on this stuff right now. I hate I like to tell everybody the plays before I get in them. Even now, I'm talking about plays that I'm going to get in. I don't like talking about it like after, because anybody can do that on YouTube. But the S&P, I think we continue to grind up. But again, this is really reminding me of like a Tesla play running up into an event. And I wonder if the excuse is going to be tax loss harvesting. Oh, everyone's just tax loss harvesting. And we're down 20%. The thing is, if the S&P is going to go down 20%, let's say it even corrects 10%. For those of you guys that don't know, a pullback up to 9%, a correction 10 to 19%, a crash 20% is more. When I say the words, I know their meaning, and I say it for their meaning. So if anyone ever says that was a 4% crash, you just stop listening to them. Correct them one time, maybe. Tell them, figure it out. Don't ever say that again. It irks me when people say that. But anyway, hear me out. If the S&P is going to crash or correct 10 to 20%, what do you think individual stocks are going to do to create that? You're going to get obliterated. Okay, so this is why most people lose when they pick individual stocks. I do it all the time. But if you just don't know what you're doing, you don't have that experience, and your allocation is messed up, this is where you're going to get caught with your pants down. So I'd be very mindful of that for the remainder of this year and beginning of next. 20%. That's a lot of harvesting. It is. It's Jeepers Creepers style harvesting. Okay. Who knows? But anyway, we're getting to that season where all the YouTubers are gonna start talking about that. S&P still plenty. I think we're gonna hit the upper edge. Nasdaq right now we're playing ping pong. So we went. If we really break it down, I gotta say my admin Cody killed it from zone to zone, zone to zone, and then again. So I don't know if he played it today, but this just went yellow box to yellow box, yellow box to yellow box. Almost made it up there again. Made it to the speed bump zone. Sold back off. Playing the game of ping pong. Right now, I gotta say, I would be long in queue at the stop below the zone. I'd put it right below that green wick. Now that's kind of where I'd be at. As a matter of fact, just so you guys know, I'm going to take that. I'm about to wrap this up here because I do have to get to my Zoom session with my group. But I am going to go long in queue in that transition. So we'll see how well that pans out. Just know that if that's green tomorrow, I made a whole bunch of money. If it broke this, I tagged out. Got the short twice today. Nice. Yeah. Overall, just a hanging out day. The Russell killed it yesterday. Financials really did. Pulled back today. If it wasn't for kind of tech pushing up, the S&P probably, if these two ever lined up, if tech's had a bad day with financials having a bad day, markets are going to be destroyed. For now, all that is a pullback. I really would worry more about shorting the Russell up here in this yellow zone. And guys, I'm breaking down the futures. Quick shout out, Robinhood is getting futures. That's going to be amazing. But you guys probably recognize the tickers SPY, QQQ, and IWM. Again, futures are what drive the order flow into that. If you've ever played a gap fill on SPY or QQQ or IWM, it's because you just don't know what's going on or how things work. It's not a real play. Sorry if that offends some of you, but gaps on an ETF are nothing. Notice there's no gaps here because this is continuous. The one time there was a gap, we called it out, and well, there was a lot of follow through later that day. So anyway, keep that in mind. As far as the Russell goes, we did hit the expected move today and kind of pulled back. This red line right here, Tom Lee thinks IWM is going to be 300 by the end of the year. So if you have a lot of faith in him, you're about to see the most meteoric rise you've ever seen in your life. And I don't know why you wouldn't hold account. Hood is a good stock too. It has been. The S&P 500 overbought. I agree. But I again, if for everyone on TikTok, if you guys want to catch the beginning of this, go to YouTube to Don Fron Trading, where I talked about the S&P. Yes, I do think it's overbought. I think it's going to continue a little bit higher before we do sell off. Let's see. What's Casey calling a joke? I might be serious. She says that's a joke, y'all. I haven't been joking. When will the Bitcoin surge start? Good question. Watch this right here. Focus up. Put your nose on your phone. Okay? Get as close as you can as to this. Here's your lower highs trend line. Here's that zone. Getting above 69. I think we start to go for it. All-time highs is going to be that 74. Oh, whole account. Okay. Yeah, this is not financial advice, and I honestly I don't care what you do with your money. I want you to do well, but I will just as easily make fun of you for stupidity. So don't do that. Okay, let me do a couple more real quick. Palantir. Like I talked about on Friday. Friday, I said this wick was it was this wick. Was it this one? This one? It's Monday. Okay, so it was Friday. I said that was the top for Palantir. Let me get it on screen here. I said that was the top. Someone had to mock me a little bit and double top it. So far, I'm still right. And I do think Palantir is probably, hopefully, starting that leg down right now. So it's had a good run. Depending on where you got in at, I would consider some things on this. Just really consider your play on this. Is it a 10-year hold? Because if it's a 10-year hold, why are you worried about the next 10 days? You shouldn't be. That's silly. Now, don't tell me you're an investor if you're a trader. Now, I'm a trader and I have an investing account, so I can have both conversations. But I do think it's probably about to pull back. I don't think this is it. Okay, guys, I have to get out of here. Sorry, I'm just really constrained on time today. But do all the cool stuff. Hit the follow button. All the things. The likes, the shares. I owe you guys another stream just for the amount of time on this one. So make sure you follow me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.